Alright. Twitch. Search. Race Spec. Stream. On. Audio. Working. Yes. Stream's up. Chat's up. Should be all set and ready to go. Fantastic. Alright. Get my notes ready. Alright. Oh, who are we waiting on then? An AlphaTauri. Oh, I think Roscoe said he's not racing tonight, so it might be a reserve driver that we're waiting on then. In the AlphaTauri. Yeah, we've got a fair few reserves in tonight. But it's nice to see that those reserves are ready to step up when needed and willing to make this a full grid. Might be the final time we have a league race on this circuit. Hugo Garcia. Interesting. Okay. Alright. When the timer hits 0, I'll start up my intro as per normal. We'll get this show on the road. Hello everyone and welcome to round 8 of the Pacific Tier 1 Championship here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Lane Everingham, your commentator for this event, and for tonight we'll be competing at Circuit Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix. Located near the town of Le Castellet, this infamous tarmac lake of a racetrack was constructed in 1969 and held its first Formula One Grand Prix a few years later in 1971. The circuit on which we're racing on tonight measures up at 5.84 kilometers and consists of 15 corners, 9 to the right and 6 to the left. There are also 2 DRS zones that lead into the prime overtaking spots of turn 1 and the back straight chicane of turns 8 and 9. It's not an overly interesting or incredible circuit, with its most defining characteristic being the near infinite amount of runoff area surrounding the track. It makes crashing into a barrier really difficult to do, but let me assure you, especially in these conditions, it's definitely not impossible. Trying to pass anywhere that doesn't have a DRS zone tends to be pretty difficult. As a result, DRS trains begin to form, although if these conditions hang around in the race, maybe that will be a different story. But if it is dry, and with that in mind, qualifying well will be incredibly beneficial for achieving victory today. Now, before we touch on what's going to be happening out on track, there is a little bit of news to go through first from our previous race in Japan. Really good news. There were no incident reports submitted in by the drivers last week. As a result, the final finishing positions of that race remain completely unchanged. In the Drivers' Championship, it is G-Force Crichton leading the way on 203 points, with Matt Plevy in P2 on 113. 90 points separating the top two in the championship. Basically, at this point, Crichton's got one hand on the trophy. It's going to be really difficult to rip it out of his hands at this point. Not impossible, mind you, but it's going to be incredibly difficult. P3 is Seb Spicer on 88 points, 1 point ahead of Grid Jokes on 87, with ACW rounding out the top 5 on 68 points. In the Teams Championship, it's Mercedes leading the way on 241, followed by Ferrari on 177. Alpine are next on 118, followed by McLaren on 108, with Haas rounding out the top 5 on 100 points exactly. But that's it. Not much to go through after Suzuka, so we can now focus on what will be an incredibly interesting qualifying session, particularly if it's going to be dry in the race, because of course in these conditions, as you can see, heavy wet tyres being used here, so drivers can take the opportunity to amp up the downforce on their front and rear wings to try and extract better lap time here in qualifying. But if it's dry in the main race, well, that's going to backfire on them tremendously in the dry conditions. You want to have a decent amount of straight line speed if you want to try and make moves. As I mentioned before, you got 2 DRS zones, one down the main straight into turn 1 and the other into the Mistral chicane of turns 8 and 9, and those are realistically your only overtaking spots. You can try and make moves elsewhere. It is quite difficult to pull off though. So this will be a very interesting qualifying session, I imagine, just to see how the drivers gauge the conditions and who can put themselves at the front of the field. Right now, it's Apollo Pepsi who will attempt the first flying lap of the session to make his way around the final corner and it onto the main straight nice and gingerly to make sure he doesn't lose control. He'll turn on the battery and begin his first flying lap attempt. Towards turn 1 we go, building up to a speed of 312 kilometers an hour through turns 1 and 2. Very tricky, this right-hander of turn 2. That little rise at the apex unsettles the car quite a bit. Apollo took that quite well. Into turns 3 and 4. Nice little tight complex here. Very easy to cut too much of the track as we head around the hairpin of turn 5. This completes the first sector. Round turn 6 and up towards the incredibly tricky kink of turn 7, particularly in these conditions. The back end will be eager to step out through there, so there will be a lot of throttle modulation as the drivers try to find as much traction as possible heading down this Mistral straight. Into the chicane, a big overshoot there, the car not pulling up as Apollo required as he makes his way out of turn 9. It's key to try and find good traction out of here so you can maximise the top speed heading towards the seam curve. Turn 10. In the dry, not much of a corner. In the wet though, this is a properly brutal corner. Apollo takes it well as he heads around turn 11. One of my favourite corners in all of Formula 1. I love this turn. Nice late apex, really rewarding when you get it right. Around turn 12, this also has an extremely late apex. Apollo doesn't quite nail it, but you can't really blame him. It is only his first flying lap in these heavy wet conditions. Around turn 14, the penultimate corner, and then the final turn, 15. This is my least favourite corner in almost all of Formula 1. So tight, so tedious to go through there. As he makes his way back onto the main straight, the benchmark is going to be a 1 minute 45.2. See how everyone else will do. Prezzo's making his way through the first sector. You can see there, nice and gentle on the accelerator as he invalidates. Stevenson jumps to the top. Ferrari Pro in P2. Stevenson with a 43.7. He is 1.3 seconds clear of Ferrari Pro, who did take his first pole position of the season back at Albert Park. Leo Duncan exploring the racetrack on the outside of turn 2. Reserve driver Hugo Garcia. According to the check-in, his name's Harrison. I will stick to Garcia though. Very nice name to say. Eagle making his way through turns 1 and 2. Yellow's out. That'll be Ferrari Pro, I imagine, trying to get out of the way. Oh, there is a McLaren that came to a stop though. Is that Stevenson? It is. He's looped it round at the exit of turn 7. He's on an in-lap as ACW has jumped to the top, beating Stevenson by half a tenth. Leo making his way around with an invalidated lap. Mr. Garcia here heading down the main straightaway up towards the line. Warren does a 1:57.8. Garcia with a 44.5. Nickman making his way towards turns. Oh, ACW's crashed. You can see his dot stationary at the exit of turn 7. He's looped his car coming onto the Mistral straight and he's thrown it into the barrier. Now, well, that's ACW's worst nightmare, because if the conditions improve, he'll be starting from plumb last. Around turn 11. 4th gear. See the throttle modulation. He's waiting, and then eventually finds enough grip to slam the accelerator all the way down to the firewall. Nice out of turn 12. Little wiggle as he entered 13. Around the final 2 corners of 14 and 15. Just have to let the car roll through here. Maintain traction. So I believe that was Levi jumping up to P4. Eagle to P1. Eagle to the top with a 43.6. Neckman to P8 with a 44.5. Should have saved you 1 lap to the end of the session, ACW. Unlucky, mate. Just shows you how tricky these conditions can be. You need to be pretty well focused on out laps and in laps. Can't be zoned out, otherwise you'll find yourself in the wall. As Crichton is dancing his way out of turn 11 and around turn 12 and out of turn 12. This is quite typical of Crichton. He loves the backhand stepping out in these conditions. He makes his way around the final corner and back onto the main straight. See if his flamboyance results in lap time. Championship leader crosses the line, and what do you know? He jumps to the top. And by a decent margin. 0.4 of a second to his teammate. Currently a Mercedes 1-2. Rockford, though, responds. He jumps to the top with a 43.2 of his own, beating Crichton by 0.02 of a second. We've got 3 drivers yet to set lap times. We've got Leo in the pits, Seb in the pits, Matt Plevy in the pits. Same with Big Al, who's in a Alfa Romeo, which is a bit weird, frankly. Prezzo's crashed out at turn 7. Maybe we might be able to see where his car ended up. Well, I guess not now, no. There he is there, in the wall. Grid Jokes jumps to the top with a 43.1. He beats Rockford by 17 thousandths of a second. Man, I wasn't expecting turn 7 to be the main incident hotspot. These kinds of conditions. I was fully expecting turn 10 to be the main hotspot for these kinds of incidents. There you go, turn 7. Got to keep an eye out on that. Now, is Rockford still pushing, or is he just trying to make his way back into the pits? He is using his battery still. He hasn't turned that thing off. And he hasn't got a yellow fuel icon either, so it suggests he has fuel to complete this lap. Round turn 13, up towards the penultimate corner. Yeah, he's still pushing. Alright, let's see what Rockford can do on his second lap. Gets to the apex just about and had to wait so long to put the power down. 43.2 is PB. 42.9 is his new PB. He jumps to the top. Suggests to me that the conditions are improving steadily as we move towards the end of this qualifying session. Ferrari Pro P4, you'd be happy with that response. Position-wise, I'm sure you'd like to find a bit more time. Eagle currently P5 with a 43.6. In order for him to improve position, he needs to gain a 10th. He is low on fuel. Will he bail on this lap? No, he's continuing on. He'll make his way around the final corner, turn 15, and back on to the main straight. Eventually reaching full throttle. When he reaches 5th gear, Eagle will cross the line and jump up to P3, a 43.166. Seb Spicer, I've just noticed as well, he's now second. He's not on a second push lap though, so he'll be going back to the pits. Stevenson, I believe he's just done a lap time. He's not pushing now. He's currently P6. Garcia's invalidated. T-Mac making his way out of turn 11. Now around turn 12. Very tricky corner. You can see how long you have to stay on the brakes for. Try and get the car slowed down and get it rotated for that late apex. Around the penultimate turn. Then the final corner. Second gear. Short shifts up to third. Eventually reaches full power. Towards the finish line, he'll set a 43.2, fifth fastest, with that lap just in front of Crichton. Warren on an out lap, same with Bompton. Plevy's out on track. Are those inters? They are inters. Al's on inters as well. Be curious to see if these guys can extract lap time from these tyres compared to the full wet Pirelli tyre. First driver to attempt to fly will be Al. No, he goes back in. So he's either just going to wait it out a bit longer, but then the inters work a bit more accordingly, or he thinks that it's not suitable for inters at all and he's going to chuck on wets. Matt Plevy, it appears that he's going to try attempt a flying lap. The green ringed intermediate tyre. Down the main straight towards turn 1. He'll begin his flying lap, his first flying lap attempt. Through turns 1 and 2. Lot of steering input in. Looks pretty sensible on the way out of turn 2 though. Up towards turn 3. And the brakes hard down to 5th gear. Flowing it through quite nicely. Gets a lot of rotation into the corner, particularly in these low grip conditions. Suddenly it seems like Matt's in control here. And I don't think he's trying to force the car too much either. I think it's flowing okay. Up towards the chicane. 4th gear. Down to 3rd gear. Back on the power. Feeds it again. And up through the gearbox it goes. Leo's retired. I think he's done that in pit lane. From the looks of things. So his qualifying session is done. He'll be starting towards the back as well. So there's another position for you, ACW. Around turn 11. Up towards turn 12. It's looking like quite the controlled lap. I'll be curious as well. Yeah, there's a lot of drivers have got intermediates on now. Got 3.5 minutes left in qualifying. Up towards turn 15. Down to 3rd gear. And then down the main straight. What kind of lap time will we see from Mr. Race Spec? It's going to be a 1 minute 42.9. Jumps up to 3rd. One of only 3 drivers in the 42s. Alright, who else we got? We got Mr. Warren out on track. He's currently improving. He's on the full wet tyre. Making his way towards the line. It's going to be a 43.6 P11 just outside of the top 10. Levi making his way round the final 2 corners. Nice and steady round the final turn. Good traction as well. Car nice and stable. Up towards the line now for the Aston Martin driver. He does a 43.0, 4th fastest with that lap. Grid Jokes has invalidated. Garcia's gone back into pit lane. Eagle getting ready for a run. He's making his way around turn 11. Matt Plevy's currently up by half a second according to that middle split. Might be properly intermediate conditions now, right at the death of qualifying. Rockford's on a lap as well. He's making his way through the first sector. Around the hairpin at turn 5, what does the clock say? Clock says he's up by 0.4 of a second, so it's definitely intermediate conditions right here, right now. Ideally, you want to begin your flying lap with only 1 second left on that clock in your top right. Ideally, Obviously, it's going to be almost impossible to achieve. But a lot of drivers will be checking up on their outlaps, just trying to give themselves a little bit of extra time as Plevy jumps to the top with a 42.0. Rockford to the middle sector is up by 0.8 of a second. Needs to find another 10th to challenge Plevy. Seb Spicer getting ready. Levi on a lap, making his way around turn 12. Eagle on a lap as well. He's up by 0.4 of a second. Crichton's up by a whole second as he makes his way around turn 13. There's Spicer just a bit further back in the McLaren, getting ready for his final run. Alright, around the final turn, turn 15, and back onto the main straight. Warren retires in the pit, so Levi will cross the line first. He does not improve, but Crichton does. Oh, but he's beaten by Rockford. Not by much. By 19 thousandths of a second. Plevy, his session appears to be over. What about Spicer, though? He's on his final flying lap attempt, heading towards the turn 3-4 chicane. Eagle, he's up by 0.7 of a second. So he's looking at a low 42 here. Needs to find a tremendous amount of time to try and challenge the top 2. Maybe he can try and crack the top 3. Down the main straight. Up towards the finish line. Climbing up through the gears. It's going to be a 41.8. He goes third fastest with that time. He's beaten by Stevenson though. Not by much. Oh, and Grid Jokes jumps up to P3. A 41.6 from him. Spicer heading back onto the Mistral straight is up by 0.4 of a second to the first sector. He's up by 6 to the middle. Crichton's up by a 10th. Rockford's invalidated. So Crichton might be able to snatch back pole position. T-Mac jumps up to P3 with a 41.6 of his own. Around turn 13, he is low on battery. I think there'll be just enough left around the penultimate corner. Now around the final turn. He'll get a bit of a slipstream from the car in front, I'm sure. They'll help him out, surely. Up towards the line now. 4.36 to beat. He does a 4.28. What about Spicer, though? He'll cross the line and jump up to third. A 41.522. Missing out on pole by less than a 10th. Seb, hello! In the Red Bull jumps to the top. A 41.1. I thought qualifying was over, so I better keep my eyes on Big Al then. What can Al do? He'll cross the line. He goes 10th fastest, 41.9. I thought I was capturing the last of the flying lap runners. I was not. Seb came in out of nowhere, and he'll start from pole position and by a decent chunk as well. So there we are, the end of qualifying. Seb starts on pole, 41.1 the time he's done, beating Crichton by 2.5 tenths. We'll start alongside Seb on the front row. Luke Rockford, P3, then Seb Spicer. T-Mac rounds out the top 5. Then we have Grid Jokes, Ferrari Pro, Stevenson, Eagle, and Big Al rounds out the top 10. Matt will start from P11, followed by Apollo Pepsi, Nick Mann, Levi, Hugo, Zach. Oh, and I didn't quite capture the rest of that. Final 3 drivers would have been ACW, Prezzo, and there was one more. Leo, I think. Leo Duncan, I think, will be starting from last. And it is dry. But it is also overcast. Decent amount of cloud cover over the racetrack here at Paul Ricard. Be very curious to see who starts on what tyre. Drivers will be fine-tuning their cars, I'm sure. If it's going to be a dry race, they'll be undoing all the wet weather adjustments they made to their dry setups. Make them more slippery in a straight line. for the dry. If it's going to be mixed conditions, though, some drivers might stick with a hybrid setup. I don't think anyone was running a wet setup for qualifying. I think they were either running hybrid setups or just straight up dry ones. Hopefully this won't take too long. Alright, here we go then. We have 5 red lights. And we're underway here in Le Castellet. It's a nice start from the front row. Crichton on the medium tyre, trying to go around the outside, heading into turn 1. It's going to be very tricky to pull this off. They're side by side, heading into turn 2. Seb has a nose in front. He keeps the lead, and sliding is a Haas. It's Grid Jokes. He falls to the back. Round turn 3. Seb hangs on to the lead. He's on the hard tyre. He won't have the outright grip as Crichton dives down the inside. Around turn 6, he'll take the lead away from the Red Bull. Seb down to second. Rockford getting in front of Spicer. He moves to third. He's going to go for second. They're 3 wide heading down the Mistral Straight. Into the chicane. Rockford now leads from Crichton and Seb. Spicer P4 in front of T-Mac, who rounds out the top 5. In terms of position change, there is a fair bit of movement, and that's primarily because of Grid Jokes. He lost control out of turn 2. He might have had assistance. He might have done it on his own. I'm not sure. What I am certain of, he is dead last. From 6th to 20th. Fortunately, he's only 3.3 seconds off the back of the pack. Now, around turn 12, nose-to-tail stuff between Stevenson and Ferrari Pro there. As the 2 Aston Martins change places. A bit further back. Onto the main straightaway to complete the first lap of 27 here at Circuit Paul Ricard. Rockford leads from Crichton and Seb. Here is the tyre situation. Rockford on the hards. Crichton medium. Seb hard. Spicer mediums. Next 3 cars are on the hards. Eagle on the mediums. And then the final 2 rounding out the top 10. Big Al and Matt Plevy. They're on the hard tyre. Al already a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That didn't take long at all. Only 2 laps. Down the Mistral Straight towards the chicane. Crichton closing the gap. He won't be close enough though to attack into turn 8. He'll show the nose to try and create a distraction, but he won't be committing to anything just yet. Further back, certain drivers on soft tyres. We got Bompton and Leo on softs. Leo not in the session, so evidently that's the AI choosing to hop on the soft tyre. Bompton getting in front of Zach Warren as well. Towards the front. Rockford maintaining the race lead as they head around turn 13 up towards 14. DRS will get enabled next lap when they cross the line. Crichton looking ready to pounce. Not using any battery yet, just using the natural slipstream coming off the car in front. Through 1, then 2. Warren getting in front of Bompton. That was for P16. Up towards turn 3 now. Down from 7th gear to 4th. Down to 3rd gear through turn 4. Round turn 5, keeping it in 3rd. Round 6, 4th gear. It'll be flat out through turn 7. We'll activate DRS. Will he activate the battery as well? No, he doesn't. He won't need to. Crichton will take the lead. Plevy takes 9th as well. Through turn 8. Then turn 9. Bompton getting back at Zach Warren. Retakes 16th. Rockford in the slip. He's not using any battery, as you can see. Got a ton of straight line speed in that Alpine though. Doesn't go for a pass. Smart driving there. Don't need to attack just yet. Going to be a very long race, especially with these DRS trains. Currently the leading train goes from P1 all the way down to P16, or P15 rather. Nice long leading train. Look at them all of them line astern. Crichton with the new fastest lap. Can anyone beat that? No. 33.0 is the benchmark for everyone else to try and beat, if they can. Rockford. I'll be curious to see if he try and retakes the lead from Crichton. Half a second back. His Alpine's got a decent amount of straight line speed, so I don't think Crichton's going to skip away here. Look at him close in. 3 tenths, 2 tenths. Oh, and he backs off completely. Look at that. So we got some gamesmanship already. Rockford not going for the move, just staying behind race leader Crichton. Look at that train. That horde of cars making their way around turn 10. Al getting Stevenson at turn 10. Certainly an interesting overtaking spot, the Scene Curve. It's definitely possible. If you get a good run out of the chicane, maybe use a bit of your battery as well, you can try and get by through there. It can get very dicey though. So both drivers in the battle, they need to treat each other with a decent amount of respect. Otherwise, yeah, probably the worst will happen. Especially through an incredibly fast corner like that. Through turns 1 and 2. I'm quite impressed with the leading group. Behaving quite well as Nick Mann gets a 3-second time penalty. Second driver to get one. Al was the first. He used a bit of battery there, Rockford. I think he's going to go for the move. There we go. Not mucking around there. 328 kilometers an hour he hit into turn 8. Crichton, 74% battery compared to Rockford on 50. Round turn 10. Look at him close in. Just backs it off. Stays behind the Alpine. Round turn 12. Up towards 13. So a bit further back. Stuck in third right now. Won't have any DRS advantage to the car in front, as the car in front has DRS itself. So he's basically stuck in third unless Crichton and Rockford make some kind of mistake. It's the same story for Spicer and for everyone else really in this train. Making moves is going to be incredibly difficult. But when everybody splits up and it's time for pit stops, then we'll see who's made the most of their strategy, made the most of their tyres. Be very keen to see who gets it right. And perhaps even, considering there's still clouds around, who reads the conditions right. Because who knows, there might be a spot of rain on the way. Down the inside goes Crichton. He'll take the lead back, heading into the chicane. Rockford does it. Oh, and off goes 2 drivers. There's been an incident at the chicane. Around is Al, and who's with him? Is that Ferrari Pro? It is. Both cars off wildly at the Mistral chicane. No obvious damage from what I can tell. But they've disconnected themselves from the train. Potentially disconnected the top 5 as well. Look at the gap. 8 tenths. Stevenson needs to stay within that 1 second range. It's critical. While that was going on, Crichton has been re-overtaken by Rockford. So yeah, the Alpine straight line speed is there to be seen. very, very fast down the straights. Al's in. So evidently he has damage. Over turn 2 and up towards turns 3 and 4. Is there a front wing at the ready? There is. No major damage, but evidently there must be some. Soft tyres bolted on as well, so he's sprinting as hard as he can. Perhaps in anticipation of wet weather, who knows? Down the back straight away. Crichton will retake the lead. Use a little bit of battery in the process. Through the chicane. See the Alpine straight line speed here. Crichton using a bit of battery just to keep Rockford at bay. Rockford on 55% himself. So he has recovered a little bit from the last time I checked. Backs it off through 11. Doesn't want to run into the car in front. A bit of a wiggle there from Crichton. Around turn 12. Big understeer there from the Alpine. It refused to turn in. But he didn't lose time. That car stubbornly refused to turn into that apex. Interesting. Crichton pulls away through the traction zone. As expected, he's on the medium tyre. They should still be pretty good, even after 7 laps. Getting better traction on the softer tyre. Garcia gets by Nickman. ACW, I think, made a move for P12 as well. So with the train splitting up, we've got a few more battles going on around the circuit. Keep our eyes on the leaders. Then we'll shuffle back down the order, see what's going on. Rockford, 8/10 back. Has used a bit of battery in the process. He'll gain time. He will not be close enough to attack though. Spicer looking for a move potentially. Can't get it done though. Garcia, he's got Nickman and his teammate Apollo right behind. We head through the chicane. Further back, Warren's got a train of cars behind him. Got Bompton, Grid Jokes and Prezzo. Yellow's out. Is that Prezzo? I think it might be. It is. Losing control at turn. Oh, and he's damaged his front wing as well. So he'll have to pit and get that thing fixed. Garcia, Nickman and Apollo side by side through 12. It's tight. Side by side between ACW and Levi as well as they head around turn 13. Up towards turn 14. Apollo with the inside line gets in front of Nickman. Takes P10. ACW not close enough just yet to make a move on the Red Bull. Towards the front of the queue. Crichton leads by 3/10 over Rockford. Seb, a 10.5 behind. Maybe Seb is turning up the wick. He's certainly got a decent amount of battery. 86%. Seb Spicer, a bit less on 65. T-Max used a fair chunk. Down at 13. Needs to be careful with how he spends the battery. Particularly if he wants to hang on to P5, which I don't think he will. Al sets a new fastest lap. Stevenson flies by and takes 5th. There's the leading train. Through the chicane. All right, on board with Seb Spicer here. See what's going on. Oh, wait a minute. 2 AlphaTauris battling away. Oh, here comes ACW. Garcia didn't get a great exit there. ACW slots back into the slipstream. Through turn 10. Everyone was looking for an opening. Couldn't find one. Round the sweeper. Always love these midfield battles. These guys absolutely go for it. Go for every point, every position they can fight for. Fantastic. Going back up to our leading group. T-Mac has closed the gap with the aid of Stevenson. So the top 4 are no longer pulling away. So the leading train Just a big Mercedes sandwich. At the front of it is Crichton. At the back of it, it is Eagle. Through turns 3 and 4, up towards turn 5. Round turn 6 and up towards 7. The RS Open on the Alpine and the Red Bull. Gap just opening up a little bit between P2 and 3. Into the second half of the Mistral straight. Garcia gets in front of Apollo. That's for P9. Warren takes Bompton. That's for P15. Into the sweeper. Turn 11. 0.2 of a second separating the top two. Rockford's close, but he won't be going for any sort of move just yet. Just be looking to try and string together a solid final sector. Perhaps try something on the next lap. Further back, side-by-side start between Levi and Nickman as they head around turn 13. They're wheel to wheel towards the penultimate corner. Round the outside goes the Red Bull. Oh, as he's balked by, I think that's Apollo. Onto the main straight. Oh, and a huge moment there for Ferrari Pro. Kicking his Ferrari sideways, losing time. Down the main straightaway towards turn 1. Hugo leads this train from ACW and Apollo. Through turns 1 and 2. Up towards turn 3. McMahon's close, but nowhere near close enough to try and do something. Flashing red light on the back of Levi's car. On 8% battery, it's not looking good. Up towards turn 7. He's got the overtake turned on. He's not mucking around with that battery. He's going to use every percentage he can use. Oh, that's tied between Garcia and ACW. They make contact in the braking zone. Garcia trying to squeeze the Alpine out wide. And ACW won't be having any of it. He'll just fly by here. Take P9. Back towards our leading group, shall we? Half a second between the top two. Seb looking racy in the Red Bull. Spicer looking spicy in the McLaren. He's making his way around the final corner. Right up behind the Red Bull. He won't be able to do anything though. 57% battery. He's doing alright with battery life. Seb is... he's well and truly okay with his battery life. Almost a full charge. 50% for Rockford. Not a great run through turns 1 and 2. Seb's close, but not close enough. Seb might be a little bit annoyed. I reckon he feels like it's faster, but he can't find a way through thanks to the sheer speed of the Alpine down the straights. Look, oh my word! Half a second. Where did he find that from? Whoa! Jesus Christ! Did Rockford just use all the battery then? He had to have. Just arrived at Crichton's gearbox at Mach 7. He's going to go for a move down the inside. Gets in front. Crichton switches back underneath. And retakes the lead. No, he doesn't. Not quite. Not completely. As Rockford fights back. But he doesn't have the traction with that line. He'll stay in second. Where the hell did he come from? He was a fair ways back from Crichton. And he was directly behind him. Had to back off seriously early to avoid making contact. And again, lots of lifting. Through turn 2. Up towards turns 3 and 4. Gridjates getting in front of Bompton. That's for P16. Onto the back straightaway. Opens DRS. He's not pulling away now. I didn't find that half a second from. 3/10 the gap between the top two. Brighton's still sitting at about 60% battery, so he's doing okay in that department. Rockford just sort of just darting around Crichton. He's had enough momentum to try and make some sort of move, but he's never gone for it. He's just stuck behind the race leader. I'm really not sure what his games are about. Maybe he's just making sure Crichton doesn't get any DRS to perhaps try and recharge the battery. That's about all I can think of. He looks, doesn't commit. Plevy gets T-Mac as well. That was for P6. Williams driver drops down to P7. Round turn 5. Heading around the tricky right-hander of turn 6. Then 7. Overtake switched on. Seb just not close enough. Rockford has a look this time around. He goes for it. Gets in front. Bit of a wiggle there from Crichton. Seb, bit of battery usage, but pushes it off. Crichton with the slipstream, closes the gap. Has to cover that inside line just a little bit. Yellow's out, that will be Prezzo at turn 2. One going again. No VSC or safety car from that. With a race for track like this, it will be almost impossible for Prezzo to catch up unless there was a safety car at some stage. If you're not in the DRS train, then you're pretty much screwed. That's just how powerful DRS is. Crichton closes the gap. Lap 15 of 27. 13 laps to go. So evidently, they're pushing for one of two things. They're either waiting for the soft window to open up or for the rain to fall. Because as you can see, it's still very cloudy. Onto the back straight. Crichton using any battery. In fact, he turns it off. Seb closes in. Not by enough. Through turn 8. Round turn 9. Get everyone just sitting in the slipstream. It's a proper NASCAR event this is. Everyone just slipstreaming one another. Just ticking off laps. Waiting for the critical moment to try and strike. Round turn 12. Further back as well. Ferrari Pro. Oh, hello, it's raining. It's just started raining at the end of lap 15. And someone I think is going in. It's Rockford. He blinks straight away. That's an audacious call there from Rockford. To pit in so early. And his teammate, ACW, has given himself a 5-second time penalty. Inter's on. His tyres coming out for an Alfa Romeo from looks of things. So a fair few drivers opting to pit in straight away. That is very quick. To pit onto Inters. It just started raining about a minute ago. Guess a lot of drivers are desperate to get off their well-used slick tyres. As you can see, the track is already pretty damp. As a matter of fact, there's spray coming off the tyres already. Seb getting in front of Crichton. The track is evolving insanely quickly. As a matter of fact, DRS is disabled. All of those who pitted for intermediates might have just pulled off a blinder. Most critical of which has to be Rockford. In the leading group, he pitted in for inters. Running wide is Spicer. It's like sheet ice out there. I'm sure of it. Look at them. Just trying to gently nose the car into the corner. Gently apply the accelerator. Driving with their tippy toes right now. In they come. All of them. Oh, running wide is the McLaren of Stevenson. Running and around is Plevy. Matt Plevy spinning out. Drops down to 7th. Oh, soft. I was going to say someone might have been held there. They were not. Thank goodness. Now, where is Rockford? He's already blasting on through to the top of the board. Well, that's a hell of a strategy call to pit in when the rain just began. That's a hell of a strategy call. Made it work. He's got 3.2 seconds to the next car, which is now Seb. Second position. Nick Van getting in front of Eagle. That's for P10. Matt Plevy getting in front of Eagle now. Gap sitting at 3.5 seconds. Rockford looked pretty quick in the wet during qualifying. This was the guy who put it on pole. It was on these tyres as well. So in order to try and hunt the race leader down, needs to try and start setting quali laps out there. Hunt down Rockford. Now with Rockford's straight line speed, I would assume he'd be less strong in these intermediate conditions. Now of course he probably would have adjusted his front wing accordingly for these conditions. But I'd say his car isn't as properly well tuned to these kinds of conditions as Crichton has a little bit of a moment through the final corner. So Seb Spicer 1 second behind, looking to try and keep up with Crichton. Perhaps with a bit of luck, might be able to jump onto the podium. Through turns 1 and 2. T-Mac in 5th position. Apollo Pepsi up into 6th. Outrightly, he's 5th right now thanks to T-Mac's penalty. Fantastic strategy call from him. Worked to full effect. Stevenson, 2/10 back from ACW. Might try and line something up here. Has a look down the inside, dumping all that battery. Almost goes into the back of the Alpine, pulls it up. Oh, a little touch there through turn 9. Overtake turned on again, buries himself in the slipstream. Waiting for that opportunity to pop up. Oh, that's a great run through the seam curve. Unfortunately, he had nowhere to go. An opening, perhaps he goes for it. It's tight, real tight. He had to back out. Round turn 12. Round 13 now. Look at Seb, he's cutting down that gap. 2.5 seconds the margin. Pitching on that lap was the right call from Rockford, but I'm going to assume my prediction is right. He just doesn't quite have the car for these conditions. Small look there from Stevenson, but can't find a way through. Just need to remain patient, wait for that opening. And if you feel like there is one, you need to fully commit to it. Can't half-ass it. When you do that, that's when the accidents start. Around turn 6. Got a couple battles further back as well. We'll flick down to them. Just a moment. Yeah, ACW's just quick enough, and he's not using battery either. Only has more in supply. Plevy gets by Nickman. That's for P10. Sure, Matt won't be at all impressed with what happened at the penultimate corner. He'll be on a charge to try and make up as many positions as possible. Stevenson still stuck behind the rear wing of that Alpine. He has another look, but again, can't find a way through. Rockford now only 1.6 seconds ahead. Seb's now dialed into these conditions. He's pulling away from Crichton. Crichton in turn is pulling away from Spicer, who is passing the AI of Duncan. Further back, here's the battle for P6. You have Apollo, ACW, Stevenson. Ferrari Pro just behind as well. All of these guys line astern. Unable to find a way through just yet. Through turn 3, then turn 4. Using all of the curb available to you. Bompton, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. They head on to the back straight. Have another look at position changes here. A lot of shuffling in the order. ACW, after crashing out and qualifying, up in 7th position. He's made up the most amount of places out of anybody. Grid Jokes is in the points after what happened at turn 1, so that's sort of the silver lining to the rather not great situation he was put into. Al and Eagle a long way down at the moment. Hugo getting by Levi. That was for 12th place. Did that at turn 10 of all places too. Yellow's out. I think that's Prezzo again. At the exit of turn 2. He's just hoping to try and survive at this point. Stevenson close, but just not quite. Down the inside goes Ferrari Pro. That's a ballsy manoeuvre there from the Ferrari driver. Can't make it work either. Both drivers lose time to the car in front. The Ferrari Pro wants a crack. Down the inside here at turn 1. Can't quite outbrake the McLaren though. Stevenson had the ideal line heading into turn 2, and as a result, Plevy has the inside line for turn 3. So Ferrari Pro, trying to attack for position, ends up losing position, down to 10th. All the drivers desperately trying to find traction through there. Won't be easy, as qualifying demonstrated. Here's our battle at the front. Seb has closed the gap down to 0.6 of a second. Crichton's closing in on Rockford as well. Seb, he's got the car speed. He's pulling away from Crichton. He's the fastest out of the top 3. Four tenths back. Now the tricky bit is trying to find a way through. Making up time is one thing. Finding a way through, totally different ball game. He's got battery, he's got 30-odd%, but so does Rockford. And this car's a rocket ship in a straight line. Seb's going for it, round the outside at turn 1. Tries the over-under. Round the outside at 2. He pulls it off. Fantastic manoeuvre. Ha ha ha. Full commitment. Fantastic. That was good from Rockford as well. Didn't make any contact whatsoever. Wasn't thinking that was going to work at all, but he pulls it off brilliantly. Crichton, I'm sure he would have been hoping that Rockford held Seb up just a little bit so he could close the gap down. Seb was having none of it. Oh, Rockford having a desperate look down the inside. He probably would have been better off just lining the car up here out of turn 8, using the slipstream and the battery to perhaps try and do something at turn 10. Unfortunately though, right now he is too far back to attack. And Seb's got a clear track ahead, so he'll be able to push as hard as he needs to try and win this race. Oh, that was a fantastic overtake right round the outside at turn 2. Off goes Apollo. Drops down to 9th. Apollo, I'm sure you'd just be happy making the right strategy call. He's inside the top 10. Oh, ACW! ACW, slow! Why is that? Did perhaps he get an illegal overtake? Maybe. That'll be the only reason why he'd slow down like that. Only reason I can think of anyway. Now down to 10th place with whatever happened there. Stevenson, 3/10 behind Plevy. He'd be looking to try and get by. Oh, the Ferrari as Apollo slides out of 2. Ferrari Pro has a look, but doesn't commit to a move. Around turn 6. Stevenson do something. Oh, will Plevy do it for him? Turning on the battery just for a moment. Shifting into top gear. In the slipstream. Closing the gap. Plevy covers. And Stevenson lifts. Doesn't want to attack just yet. He's waiting. Will he make the move at 10 perhaps? Turns on the battery. Oh, he won't do it at 10. I don't think he'll do it at 11 either. No, not in an appropriate position to try and do it at 11. So where is he looking? Where is he thinking? Try and make a move, because there's a top 5 on the line here. If he can get by Plevy, he can try and go after T-Mac, who has a 3-second time penalty. Oh, that doesn't help. Can't afford little mistakes like that. You need to try and keep the car as straight as you can. Try and not lose too much time. Focus on moving forward rather than worrying about making mistakes and moving backward. 3.5 tenths a gap between Rockford and Crichton. I'll be curious to see how Crichton tries and pulls this off, because Seb had to do a spectacular move to try and get in front of Rockford. Is Crichton prepared to do the same? Turns on the battery. Oh, never mind. The straight line speed of this Merc. It's enough. It's mighty. He has the inside line. He'll outbrake the Alpine and get in front. But will Rockford counter? Surely he will. Or at least try to. Oh, too much wheel spin. Way too much wheel spin. He was desperately begging the car to grip in, and the car said non. It refused, and that's probably a warning. Now Spicer. Not many laps to go. Could he try and finish on the podium? Needs to get by the mightily quick Alpine of Rockford. A lot easier said than done. ACW, Ferrari Pro, changing places there. Ferrari Pro down to 10th. ACW up to 9th and maybe down to 11th here as Nickman has a look. Off the circuit goes the Ferrari. Rejoins alongside the Red Bull. And in the pits goes ACW. He's in. Sector 1 yellows. It's Prezzo around again at turn 2. He's having a shocker. Poor fellow. And serving the 5 second. Those are full wet tyres at the ready. Interesting. Evidently the conditions out there aren't particularly great. Yellow's out. It's Eagle with a small mistake. Down in P18. Here is your leading group. Spicer. 8/10 back. A lot of work to do. Levi, Ferrari Pro. Eagles retired in the pit lane. Around the right-hander. Turn 6. Oh, Ferrari Pro saves it. Lost the back end out of 6. Recover the car on the outside of 7. Rejoins in 13th. Grid jokes. Levi side by side making wheel-to-wheel contact as they go through the chicane. Side by side on the exit. It's tight stuff between these two. And Ferrari Pro wants to have a go. Down the inside he looks. Drawing alongside the Aston Martin. Gets the nose in front. Forcing Levi just a little bit wide. Not too wide though. Wheel to wheel through the sweeper. Ferrari Pro getting in front. Sideways. Catches sideways again. And caught it again. And he's still battling. Not giving up, is he? Absolutely going for it. Hey, why not? There's points on the line. Nickman getting in front of Garcia, who was very wide. It looks of things there. Maybe that was just a trick of the camera. He might have been on the racetrack just fine. Yellow's out. Prezzo's crashed. He's finally lost it once too many times at turn 2. He's out. Well, the French... Oh, and wide is T-Mac. Wide is T-Mac. He rejoins in 5th, but he's lost a tremendous amount of time. And he's wide again, entering turn 6. Deary me. And the long Mistral straight for the second last time. Towards the Mistral chicane. Yellow's out. Is that Warren? I think it might be. It is. Slowly moving there. Leaders making their way towards turn 12. Spicer running out of time. If he wants this, he needs to commit now. Doesn't have a whole chunk of battery compared to Rockford. He's got a whole 30% to play with. Around the final corner. Seb, he's got 1.5 seconds in hand. The championship leader, Crichton. It's the final lap. Lap 27 of 27. Through turns 1 and 2. Still about 1.5. Spicer. 2/10 back. He's close. There's an opportunity here. But where can he take it? First opportunity I can think of is the chicane. Yellow's out. Ferrari Pro has retired. What's happened here? Where is he's on the main straight. I have no idea how he's done that. But he's out. Warren retires in the pit lane as well. Spicer can't get him at the chicane. Warren leaves the session. So we're going to have 16 finishes from the looks of things here. Oh, big wiggle there from Rockford. Spicer running out of fuel, running out of battery, running out of time. I think he'll have to accept 4. Just didn't have enough time to go for it. Matt Plevy, meanwhile, moves up into 5th. That was really a formality, but now, most importantly, he's got a car between himself and Stevenson. So we can try and properly hang on to that 5th place. There has been a terrific drive from this man right here. Puts his Red Bull on pole position. Maintained the top 3 place basically the whole way through. Seb will win the French Grand Prix, our 3rd different winner of the season. And Crichton maintains his 100% podium record this season with a P2 finish. Rockford home in P3 by 1.5 tenths to Seb Spicer. Just misses out on another podium finish. Plevy P5 followed by Stevenson, T-Mac. Polo Pepsi is next, followed by Garcia, then Nickman rounds out the top 10. Levi, Grid Jokes P11 and 12. ACW will cross the line in 13th position. And we'll have Al and Bompton final 2 finishers. Oh, I'm sure for a lot of the drivers it's going to be a tale, 2 different stories. They either enjoyed the race or they completely hated it. I have a feeling it's probably going to be one of the 2. Ah, there we go. Lovely stuff there. A fine drive from Seb, our winner of the French Grand Prix. P2 to GeForce Crichton, P3 to Luke Rockford. So, the unofficial results then of this French Grand Prix. Seb is your race winner from Crichton in P2. Then we have Rockford completing the podium places in 3rd. Seb Spicer, 4th. Matt Plevy from P11 finishes 5th. And we have Stevenson, T-Mac, Apollo, Garcia, and Nickman rounding out the 10. Levi's next, followed by Grid Jokes, ACW, Al, Bompton, and then our retirees. Ferrari Pro, Warren, Duncan, Prezzo, and Eagle. Prezzo ending up scoring the fastest lap of the race there at 32.2. So he'll end up getting that extra point if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that was an interesting race. The mixed conditions definitely mix things up. That is for sure. And an interesting way to potentially say goodbye to Circuit Paul Ricard. I mean, who knows what the future holds with F124? This might be the last time we ever see Le Castellet in a Formula 1 game, at least for the foreseeable future. If it is goodbye to Paul Ricard, yeah, not a bad way. It was an interesting race, interesting strategies, decent racing, I'd say as well. All in all, I think it was a solid round of our championship. Congratulations again to our top 3. Congratulations to Seb as well, his first win of the season. A terrific drive, pole position to victory lane. So well done to you, sir. But I think, folks, with everything said and done, it's now time for us to end the stream. I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching. We'll hope to see you next week for round 9 of the championship at Shanghai International Circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix. Until then, it's goodbye.